Okay, we begin with our Truth Eternal continuation on the first chapter. So, as usual, let's offer our humble prayers. So, we'll read part of what we had last time. The Veda is not restricted to a particular book, country, religion, or nationality, but it is the knowledge of the three worlds, including all creation, the netherworld, and the higher world. So here, this is very significant because even I, in my childhood, understood Vedas as the books, but Lalaji Maharaj clarifies it emphatically. Vedas means the knowledge. Knowledge doesn't belong to any particular religion. Knowledge doesn't belong to any particular country. It is universal. It is something like science. Science, of course, has its own limitations because we try to use science for this material world, science of medicine, science of engineering, astronomical world, science of chemicals, pharmaceuticals, so many things. But when it comes to knowledge, according to Lalaji Maharaj, it should be encompassing everything, not only this manifested material world and how the principles play out in the materialistic world, but also what supports this Bautic world, what supports my physical body, how the psychology, the mind, various neurological aspects play out in our body, what influence our moods have on this neurology and ultimately in our behavior, which are well studied but still not fully understood. And most complex thing is consciousness. People are still scratching the surface of this concept. What supports this consciousness? It is yet to be comprehended. What is soul? What supports the soul? How was the universe created? How will it dissolve? How it is expanding? How is the higher world beyond this physical world? What about the lower worlds of which we are not aware? Allah says nether world. So there is a lot to Vedas, the all accomplished, all encompassing knowledge that also includes science. So spirituality, in a broader sense, it's a universal set, while science is a subset of that universal set. Whether the Veda is understood or caught by the rishis or saints, it is the fountain of all wisdom. It is the thread of that material in which all the worlds, the planets, the Vasus, the Adityas, The Rudras are studied in seed form. These are hierarchical functionaries in nature. In order to know their real significance, let us forget for some time the words like Veda and knowledge. Let us think instead of a spirit or power which is all pervading and all surrounding reality, which gives up the identity of creation and which is called wisdom, the first mind, the Mahat principle, or the lower nature. In the bracket, he has put it as Apara Prakriti, means the lower nature. When he is talking of this spirit or the power, which is all pervading, all surrounding reality, which keeps up the identity of creation, this is all about prana, the life force. And here he is also talking of the lower nature. Then what is the higher nature? Higher Prakriti is the one from which the lower Prakriti has descended. In hierarchical thing of our own existence, what is higher, physical body or the body that supports it from within, subtle bodies? So in that fashion, we can question what is higher, subtle bodies or the causal bodies? So there is a hierarchy. There is a lower Prakriti, which is called Apara Prakriti, and there is higher Prakriti, we call Para, transcendent Prakriti, which supports the lower Prakriti, just as causal body supports subtle bodies and subtle bodies supports the grosser physical body. One part of this mind, capital M, is turned upwards, which is the all pervading and all surrounding essence of element, and which determines the forms of all the individuals. For example, the preliminary form of an insect, like a gnat or a wasp, which has not developed any organ of distinction. After that, the power which applies systematic force in each and every particle or cell and creates or is capable of creating different organs such as mouth, etc., as distinct from other individual forms is known as knowledge or the first intellect, which is all pervading. No creation or race or religion or creed is free from it. Lalaji Maharaj is talking about this universal intelligence, which is all pervading. In a way, it is supported by this power we call prana. You know, if you grow certain vegetables in your backyard, or you may not be growing, but you may have observed how simple things like planting ash gourd or a lauki, and how this creeper develops tentacles. And a time comes, these tentacles hooks on to a support. What guides these tentacles to hook on the support? What intelligence do they have? They do not have eyes, winds are against it, and yet they hook onto it. This is intelligence, all pervading intelligence. Even the science do not have all the answers. For example, how do the cell multiply after conception? What guides this genetic material to transform itself into heart, into spleen, into lungs? What guides them? And at the right moment, later on, having completed the whole process, birth, and then childhood starts, and then teenage, adult, and then slowly we deteriorate. The whole cycle, this is all intelligence. And we are trying to learn This process of intelligence, and more or less, we are still scratching the surface because the very fundamental thing, what will get converted into which organ, it is baffling us. Indians call this power knowledge or Veda, this intelligence. It cannot be denied that the people of other countries perhaps give it some other names. If the Hindus set aside the traditional meaning of the words Veda and Jnana, knowledge, and try to go ahead, then most probably they may have access to the original reality. Otherwise, they are at liberty to argue on the meaning of the words and carry on with their disputes, leading to lifelong quarrel. As this knowledge is revealed through rishis, it is necessary to consider the real meaning of the word rishi. Rishi means number one, seer of mantra. Number two, an individual having full power over nature. Number three, moving existence. Rishi means moving existence, whether it revolves with its own axis or its center or any other center forming its axis. Okay. No space is free from this, from rishis or vasus, in whom the creation rests. Some are adityas, who give light to others with their own. Some are rudras, who make others weep in worldly matters, thus putting them on the right path. I think this is quite self explanatory. Yet it baffles us. We understand the words, yet the meaning of these words still eludes us. Thank you.